We are reinventing the phone. With multi-touch, you can intuitively pinch to zoom and swipe through your content like this.
All right, let's talk about the device you're probably holding right now. It's an incredible piece of engineering, right? And it really all boils down to one thing, that piece of glass you're touching. It feels like total magic, but the story of how it came to be is, well, it's this amazing journey that took decades of innovation. No, seriously, just think about it for a second. That piece of glass in your pocket or in your hand, it follows your every tap, every swipe, every pinch just perfectly. So how on earth did we get here? Well, let's dive in and find out.
You know, using a phone today, it feels so natural, doesn't it? It's almost like it's just an extension of our own hands. The whole thing is so intuitive, so immediate. But to really appreciate how we got here, we've got to rewind the clock. We're going to go back to a time when this kind of seamless experience, pure science fiction.
Okay, so our story kicks off in the 1960s. Now, you have to picture what computers were like back then. We're talking clunky keyboards, punch cards, that was it. So the very idea of just reaching out and touching the screen to make something happen, that was absolutely revolutionary.
So the first big step forward happens in 1965. A guy named E.A. Johnson invents the very first capacitive touchscreen. It was for air traffic control, which is pretty cool. A brilliant idea for sure, but also super complex. Then, just 6 years later, in '71, Dr. Samuel Hurst comes along with a totally different approach, the resistive touchscreen. And this one turned out to be way more practical.
And these two technologies were like night and day. Capacitive screens, they worked by sensing the electrical charge in your finger. Super clever, right? But they were pricey and could only handle one touch at a time. Resistive screens, on the other hand, worked with simple pressure. You were literally pushing two layers of the screen together. Because it was cheaper and you could use a stylus or even a gloved finger, it pretty much became the go-to choice for all those early devices.
And that, right there, kicks off what we can call the age of the stylus. For the next 20 or 30 years, resistive technology was king. Touchscreens started to pop up in devices people could actually buy, which was exciting. But the experience, oh man, it was a whole different world from what we're used to now. It was full of promise, for sure, but it was also, well, clunky is the perfect word for it.
Probably the best example of this whole era is the IBM Simon from 1994. A lot of people call it the very first smartphone. And look, it had a touchscreen, it could do email, it had a calendar, but it was a brick. It was huge, it cost a fortune, and you had to use a stylus for everything. It was like this little peek into the future, but the rest of the world just wasn't ready for it yet. Where these resistive screens really found a home was in PDAs. You remember personal digital assistants? Palm Pilots were huge for a while. They were great for organizing your contacts, taking notes, and the stylus was absolutely essential. But let's be real, these were work tools. They were all about productivity. They weren't the fun, do-everything devices we carry around today.
So for decades, touch technology is kind of just inching forward. It's getting a little better, a little more common, but it's totally stuck in that stylus-driven world. And then everything changed. One single device. It came out and just completely rewrote the rules for what a touchscreen was and what it was supposed to do.
The year is 2007, and the entire mobile phone industry is about to get completely turned upside down. See, Apple's iPhone didn't just have a touchscreen. It totally reinvented the experience. It brought back that fancy capacitive tech, but this time it could track multiple fingers at once. Multi-touch. And that right there was the key. It unlocked these incredibly natural gestures, like pinching to zoom in on a photo or swiping to scroll through a list. All of a sudden, the stylus just looked silly, obsolete. Your finger was all you needed, and the whole interface was just so smooth and responsive, it was like nothing anyone had ever seen before. And the big idea, the truly revolutionary part, was this. A great touchscreen didn't just add a new way to poke at things. It could get rid of the physical keyboard entirely. That philosophy made the whole device simpler, way more powerful, and just unbelievably intuitive.
And yeah, after 2007, there was simply no going back. The change was fast and it was total. The multi-touch capacitive screen became the only way to do things. It became the new standard, and that's what created the touch-first world we're all living in right now. So how does the screen you're using actually work? It's pretty cool. Basically, you can think of it like an invisible electrical field that's sitting on top of the glass. Now, your body naturally conducts electricity, so when your finger touches the screen, it messes with or disrupts that field. There's a grid of sensors underneath that detects exactly where that disruption happens and translates it into a tap, a swipe, whatever you're doing. It's this really elegant bit of physics that's happening thousands, millions of times a day right under your fingertip.
And the impact of this, it's almost impossible to overstate. Think about it. Without this kind of interface, there would be no app stores as we know them. Mobile gaming, social media, everything would look completely different. And of course, the technology didn't just stay in our phones. It spread everywhere, to tablets, to the dashboards in our cars, even to the smart thermostats on our walls.
So there you have it, the journey from a specialized single touch screen for air traffic controllers all the way to a multi-touch world that fits in everyone's pocket. It's a technology that has completely changed how we interact with, well, everything. The screen literally taught us how to touch our digital world. Which leads to one last big question. What's next? What comes after touch?